thought you were talking to me. Just talk to me. Listen, the first meeting, making a motion to change his name to Howard.
Howard. That's a nice name. My boss was Howard Falk. When I worked for Falk's Food Basket, it was Howard Falk. Thank you for waiting. We apologize for being late, but we had an executive session talking about litigation. Please rise for the invocation, followed by the pledge of the flag. Heavenly Father, guide us through these uncharted waters of the federal government as they cut back on domestic aid. You have given us the wisdom and strength to get through the financial crisis of 2008 and the pandemic. Now we need your assistance to guide us through the federal government turns its back on the nation's cities and most needy. Give strength to our nonprofits who are here tonight and give them the resources they need to help our less fortunate and most needy as we prepare to pass what may be the last CDBG allocation from the federal government. We were awarded a $750,000 federal grant only for a recreational project in our city, only to have it clawed back and rescinded this week. Finally, give us the wisdom to make the right decisions for our residents, and tonight also address and honor our police department as they awarded the Officer of the Year to Officer Jonathan Fidel. Watch over our police officers and firefighters so they keep our residents safe from harm. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, Madam Clerk. Yeah, get a lot of callbacks.
Here. Ms. Sultana? Here. Dr. Ruggles?
Here.
Mayor Panto?
Here.
And Mr. Brown?
Here.
Mr. Pinnabone?
Here.
And Mr. Ettinger?
Here.
Action on our minutes from May 14th. Moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved in second. Any additions, deletions, or corrections? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Ms. Sultana? Aye. Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Pinnabone?
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
And Mrs. Rose? Aye.
At this time, we have presentation to council on the CDBG Community Development Block Grant allocations. I ask you to keep your remarks as short as possible. We do have a 5-minute limit, but would also like to keep, because we probably have heard these last 10 years at least.
Mayor. Michael Brett, 3 minutes.
3 minutes.
3 minutes. Thank you, Mayor.
So I'll turn it over to you, Councilman Pinnabone.
Thank you. Did we glue these mics?
No.
There it goes. I thought you glued them. All right, good evening. The purpose of this evening's hearing is to provide an opportunity for citizens and organizations to make funding requests through the funding community projects through the Community Development Block Grant, the CDBG. As part of the HUD consortium with Northampton County, the City of Easton will receive approximately $1 million in CDBG funding. A total allocation equaling $134,916 will be set aside for public service programs. The remaining allocation will fund both nonprofit and city initiatives to benefit low, moderate income level populations. After tonight's hearing, the council must decide how to prioritize the limited funding to the various applicants. Michael Brett, our Deputy Director of the Redevelopment Authority, will introduce any applicant that wishes to present. Each applicant will have 2 to 3 minutes to present.
Thank you, Councilman. Before all of you, before I introduce the applicants, all of you have a packet in front of you. This is the proposed budget from staff recommendation based on what was submitted and the allocation we have to work with. After tonight's hearing, it's up to the council people to then fill in your own recommendations and send it back to us. And what we'll do as staff is do our best to reconcile all the recommendations into a new budget that we think reflects the priorities of the council as a whole. You also have in your possession a packet of the applications. Those applications represent a snapshot of the full applications. So if any council person would like full access to the complete applications, just email myself or Sarah Eddings, and we will give you access to the online platform. And sorry about that. Sarah Eddings is our fiscal officer. You have a lot of correspondences with her. She's here on behalf of the Redevelopment Authority. We also have our executive director, John Kingsley, here as well. With that, I'll move on to the applicants. The first public service application is from our police department requesting $40,000 in community policing activities. We don't have a representative here from the police department, but this generally goes to fund the position of our downtown homeless manager with Kristen. Everyone knows Kristen and the great work she does. So we'll generally fund her salary. Next up is Community Action Lehigh Valley requesting $15,000 for its Generation Next program, which is a college readiness program for low to moderate income students. We do have a representative here from CALV who would like to say a few words. Amanda?
Good evening. My name is Amanda Starner, and I'm the instructor of Generation Next, a program of community action Lehigh Valley. And we're excited to apply to the Easton CDBG grant for our Generation Next program that is presented at the Easton Area High School. This year, in 2024, the 2025 school year, Generation Next programming was offered to 21 juniors and 26 seniors at Easton Area High School, and of those students, 18 juniors and 19 seniors are from the city of Easton. Our programming includes curriculum that discusses self-assessment tools to guide students to career interests, leadership skills, and personality and skill set assessments. Lessons also include how to apply to college admissions using the Common App, how to write the college admissions essay, and how to sign up and study for the SAT exams. Students are provided with financial literacy lessons, including personal and college finances, such as financing higher education, budgeting, and understanding credit, and also saving for retirement. Lastly, students are introduced to professional and self-development skills such as networking, resume building, interview skills, and how to live healthy lifestyles and have positive self-advocacy skills. This past year, we attended 11 field trips, experienced 7 events, and learned from 12 guest speakers. The field trips varied from Penn State Lehigh Valley, Klein's Farm, Lehigh University Ropes Course, Lafayette University, NCC, and PBS 39 Studios, APE Airport, and more. The hosted events included FAFSA workshop, mock interviews, alumni, student panelist discussion, as well as community panelist discussions. Our biggest event was the speed networking event with 30 plus community members. We're invited to one-on-one discussions with our students to practice professional conversation skills. Guest speakers vary from career focus to healthy relationships to financial literacy presentations to manufacturing focused lessons from Lehigh Valley Dream Team. As you can see, we provide a well-rounded career and college readiness pathway curriculum for each of our students and provide as many experiences as possible. Thank you for your consideration in giving our students college and career experiences to prepare them for life after high school graduation. Thank you.
Thank you. And are there any questions on that application?
Mike, I just have one.
Absolutely.
You sent a lot of information over. I don't know if it was in there, if I missed it. Do we have any letters or recommendations from the school district?
I think so. Yes.
We do? Okay. Do
So
you have them, Mike?
Yep, they'll be in the full application on the online platform. So we can, tomorrow morning, Sarah can just send out a link to all of you and gain access. That way everyone can have it and they can get in there to see all the recommendations and the supplemental information that goes along with the project.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Next is Community Bike Works, requesting $20,000 for Earn a Bike salaries. This program teaches life lessons to young people through bicycles. Do we have a representative?
Good evening, Mayor and Council and members of the public. Thank you for having us here tonight. My name is Kim Schaefer. I'm Executive Director of Community Bike Works, and I'll say a few words about our program and then turn it over to our Easton Program Manager, Nella Pinella, who can share with you a student story to let you know about our impact on the ground. So believe it or not, this summer will be the 5th summer that we are in Easton, and we were very honored to be asked by the city of Easton to come offer our programs here back in 2021. And it's turned out to be an amazing experience. We're so glad that we've been able to engage students in our life skills programming. At Community Bike Works, our flagship program is Earn a Bike. Students come in and they spend a month picking out a bike that's been donated from members of the community, and then learning the parts of a bike, the tools you use to work on a bike, how to ride a bike safely on city streets, and then how to fix every component of that bicycle. And while they are learning to fix that bike, we really have 4 areas that we work with them on. So building protective relationships with mentors in a safe space, learning life and STEAM skills, so science, technology, certainly involved in fixing bikes, physical health and mental health. We all know that mental health especially is something that our students are struggling with these days, and just riding a bike and learning how to work with others can really help with those things. And then citizenship and community engagement. So very happy to work with students on all of those things. This is the 30th year that we have been teaching Earn a Bike classes across the Lehigh Valley. So we are celebrating 30 years of Earn a Bike this year. Across all of our programs in Allentown, Bethlehem, and Easton, we have engaged about 578 students in Earn a Bike programming. Just over 100 of those are from Easton and who work with Nella. And what I really love about our programming is that of our 104 kids who did programs in the city of Easton, a majority of students come back and spend time in our community-owned, in our community-related projects. So you will often see Nella and students, at the Nurture Nature Center, Youth Climate Summit, at the CRIT, at the West Ward Market, and just really learning how to be a part of the city of Easton, whether that is related to bikes or well beyond bikes. And so I'll turn it over to Nella.
I think everyone's familiar with the Earn a Bike program, and a lot of people call it Build a Bike. But I just wanted to share with you some of the community development that happens within our space and time with the kids. We have some students who have been connected with us from the very beginning and still come to our drop-in, which is available to any students who graduate the program. During our drop-in time is where we get engaged with community events and meeting people in the neighborhood. 2 students that I just wanted to highlight, one of whom became our very first shop apprentice, and you might have remembered him from last year. 2 students came with us to speak at this very meeting. He has now moved on from being our shop apprentice and took his experience and got a job offer at Trek, so he's now working downtown. And another student who's been with us for almost 4 years, Layla, she is now stepping up to help me instruct summer classes. We have 6 summer classes this summer in Easton. And those are just 2 examples of the kids that stay connected and the offerings that they have. I think a lot of people don't realize how far it goes beyond the Earn a Bike, but there's one-on-one mentoring, are we on time? Oh, overtime, that's it. So I just thank you for letting us have the opportunity to develop our kids in our community.
Thank you so much. Are there any questions for this application?
Just one.
Yeah, absolutely.
The bike repair station that Mr. Rizzolino donated last year to the West Ward, are you guys getting a lot of use out of that? Do you see it as a benefit?
Yes, so actually, that I didn't plan on speaking tonight because I had planned to be at the West Ward Market set up right there by the repair station to help kids learn how to use it, and offer some of our smaller bikes to the community as a free raffle. So we will be committed to doing at least one West Ward Market per month, and we'll be set up over there with an area for kids to ride, just to say hi to former graduates who frequent the market, and tell people about how they can get signed up for classes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Since you're here, could you just give a quick update on the facility with the grant? I think it's appropriate just to discuss it on the investment.
Yeah, and Jared is here too. So, right. So Community Bike Works has been very fortunate while we wait for our permanent space on the 900 block of Spruce Street. We've been very fortunate to be in the Two Rivers space, so they've been very accommodating to us. As you know, we were fortunate to receive through Congresswoman Wild funding to rehabilitate the 921 Spruce Street building. that was held up for a couple of years in Congress. The good news is that as of several months ago, we have the complete go-ahead to go forward. And so working with GEDP to make that happen.
Yeah, just one last wrinkle is that we had a budget amendment that took some time to approve, so that amendment has now been approved, and we're, at least for now, have a green light to move forward with the $400,000 in funding through HUD. So we'd look to get started on that. We are asking the city for some support on a temporary certificate of occupancy to utilize the building for the summer for, I believe, the high school program.
Yes, for our high school program.
As we, begin to line up bids for the overall construction. So moving forward, but in the context of HUD and the federal government, obviously with some trepidation.
All right, excellent.
Jared, did you already got the 400,000?
It's a reimbursement grant, so we'll spend it and then we'll get it.
Spend it right, cash it immediately.
Yeah.
Immediately.
And we did pull down a portion of it for admin, and we got it within days. So fortunately, we've not had any, hiccups in this particular
Good.
project. Yeah. Thank you for asking.
No problem.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, up next we have the Easton Neighborhood Center requesting $30,000 for social services provided to low and moderate income individuals, and we do have Allison from the Neighborhood Center.
Hello, I'm Allison Zapp. I'm the newish Executive Director of the Easton Area Neighborhood Center over on Southside. And our CDBG application this year really reflects our work to build capacity at the organization. The programs that I'm looking to fund through the CDBG grant are programs that we have seen the most growth in, at least over the last year and long before that. For example, our food pantry since the pandemic is serving 185% more individuals each month. Right now we're serving about 900 individuals each month. Last year it was like 670. We need more staff capacity, we need more volunteer management, we need more food in order to serve the people, and we don't think that these challenges are going to lessen over the next couple of years. Another program that we have is our UGI assistance program, where we help people negotiate lower rates for their gas bills. We have seen a 157% increase in recertifications on this program, as well as strong increases in people coming to the program newly. We're the only organization in Easton working with UGI to help Easton residents take advantage of this service, but we're coming up to staff capacity, and we need additional funding to help support this rapid increase that we're now seeing. Our case management services that take place across all of Southside and even into the West Ward and all of Easton, especially at our senior centers where we're working at, we're dealing with new challenges that people are facing. And again, through our application, we're hoping to build capacity through those programs, as well as the entire organization as we look to revitalize Easton Area Neighborhood Center. One of the last programs that we're hoping to have some funding for in this grant application is the Easton Urban Farm. We're producing about 10,000 pounds of food, grown organically right here in city limits every single year. We distribute that food at our own food pantry at the neighborhood center, as well as at Harlan House to the seniors there, and to the Easton Area Community Center on a weekly basis during the season. I'll keep it short and sweet, but do you have any questions for me?
Regarding the urban farm, do you happen to know how many Southside residents take advantage of the fruits and vegetables coming from the farm?
So we distribute them to anyone who comes to our pantry. So I'm working with Lafayette College right now on a super nerdy data mapping project, and I'm happy to go over some of the preliminary results with anybody who's interested. It's really fascinating to see where the people are coming from all around the city to the neighborhood center. I was surprised myself at how many people are coming from West Ward or even from College Hill. So as people are coming through our pantry line, we're not saying, are you Southside, are you Southside? We know we give the food to whoever's arriving, and they're all Estonians. We are looking at really increasing our programming at the farm this year. Obviously, there are different funding streams. But the idea is that it's the community's farm, and we want the community to be there and be a part of it, learn their own skills in food growing. Once our greenhouse is complete, we really want to start pushing transplants out to the community. as fast as we can so they can grow their own herbs or have their own little container gardens and stuff like that.
Reason I ask, a lot of Southside residents aren't aware, apparently, of, and it's not against you. I know you're new and you're going to bring us back. But we had a little lull in action at the Neighborhood Center for some time. Is there a way, I don't know if we talked to Crystal and Lewis, that we can advertise that in the new newsletter, but to let the residents know there's a lot of people that really can use it that I don't think know about it. And if we can partner somehow and just get it out there that it's there. I know you're all over the West Ward, the Harlan House, and it's great. I just like to make it more available or put the word out there that it's there for College Hill and specifically the South Side.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm happy to coordinate with you and work on some outreach materials. But again, we're already seeing a tremendous increase, and I think every pantry in the city of Easton can speak to this. We just happen to have a lot more cold storage.
Yep.
And we have the capacity in that regard to be able to offer a lot of fresh produce. And of course, we're growing it ourselves. But certainly your support would go a long way in helping us even make a broader impact.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think that's a great idea to do a highlighted story on the offerings as well as and also a listing of other food pantries that might be available throughout the city in the upcoming newsletter. So I'll definitely mention it to Tracy.
Next up, we have Family Connections requesting $20,000 for its parent-child home and early literacy program, parenting and school readiness program for preschool-aged children. We have a representative from Family Connections here to answer questions, but not necessarily give a formal presentation. So I'll just say if the representative from Family Connection will stand up.
Hi, Keela.
If there's any
We
questions.
want a presentation.
If you'd like to come up and at least field some questions.
I'm just kidding. You don't have to preach. You don't have to. You said preach.
It's okay. Thanks for the opportunity. I appreciate it as usual. I think I know all of you pretty well, and I'm very proud to be able to be with all of our other organizations that are asking and requesting funds. I think all of them are more than worthy, and we all work really well together, and I'm appreciative of your partnership. That said, I am requesting funds for Family Connections of Easton in relationship to our PC Plus program, which is a parent-child plus home visiting program. That program helps support up to 40 students in our school district, or actually early childhood education students, so 18 months up through 5 years. Our home visitors go out to our residents' homes and visit with these students 2 times a week with a new toy or book. We are doing this program in both Spanish and English for our families in need, and it gives us an opportunity to really not just prepare our students for school, but it also gives our families an opportunity to really connect with our community. So they get the opportunity to have access to vaccine clinics, vision clinics, dental education, a lot of different other supports, connecting them to our community in relationship to food pantries, food banks, health resources, etc. So it's really much bigger than just a home visiting program. It's really plugging them into what is our community and also into our school district.
Just a quick question.
Yes.
Are you tracking them from the time to get in the program?
We
Time
are.
they Okay.
We are. We actually have one of our graduates graduating next year, and we're looking forward to hearing more. Actually, her mother is one of our home visitors now, so we try to keep our people and keep them engaged as we have them throughout the district. I know our kindergarten teachers, which we work closely with throughout the year, are very excited to have our PC Plus students be their students in the classroom because they're ready to learn. I know we have a lot of challenges, especially with funding for early childhood education and preschool, and this is a way to supplement that actually in the home for a lot of our parents and our grandparents who are raising their grandkids at the moment. Any other questions? I think I didn't do too bad considering it was on the
No, I
fly,
thought
right?
you did good.
Okay,
Nice
good.
job.
Thanks, I appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is Greater Easton Development Partnership requesting $50,000 for the Easton Ambassador Program. Executive Director Jared Mass is here for any questions, unless you want to force him to
Get a
speak.
presentation.
So, note
I'm
to
kidding,
everyone
I'm
else here,
kidding.
you're coming up whether you like it or not.
I'm kidding. We
You
don't
know what
need
the
a
ambassadors do?
I'm just joking with him.
Well, Jared Mass, Executive Director of the Greater Easton Development Partnership. Keela set a high bar for an impromptu presentation. I think
You got it, Jared.
I got it. So the Ambassador's well-known program, Clean, Safe, and Hospitality Services in the downtown West Ward. CDBG funding has been a core aspect of the program from the jump. It's matched by corporate partners, by MPP funding, more recently by some foundation funding. One thing I just want to put out there as a note is that it was an outsourced staffing model up until recently. We just brought the staffing in-house. So the ambassadors are now GDP employees. Gives us a little bit more flexibility in deployment. I think gives a better culture for the staff than what existed under the most recent manager. The outsource model worked for a long time. The timing was right for us to bring it in-house, and we have a new manager starting on Friday, and we'll get back to kind of full deployment both in the downtown and the West Ward with the Safe Routes to School program attached to the West Ward core territory. So happy to answer any questions, but I think the program is pretty familiar to most folks on council. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Jared. Next is LV Sill, Lehigh Valley Center for Independent Living, requesting $10,000 for the PLACE program to minimize homelessness for people with disabilities. We do not have a rep here from LV Sill, so as council is going through the applications, if you have any questions on that specific application, you can email me or Sarah, and we can answer anything in more depth.
Let me just ask a question before you move on. I'm sorry. Are they in Easton down? Are they doing any independent?
They are. So these funds would go only for their Easton residents. So the way they get their reimbursement and request is it's only for Easton-based residents. So they do work in other municipalities, but Easton Fund stays with Easton residents.
Okay, thank you. That's all.
Absolutely. Project of Easton is requesting $10,000 to fund the Student Success Program, which is a school-based life skills mentoring program for children's grades 5 through 8. We do have a representative here. No, you're there. Kim. Would you like to come up and say a few words? They'll make you.
I will.
Okay. Well, if there are any questions, we do have representatives here for that program. Okay, very good. Thank you. And finally, Rising Tide from CLV is requesting $10,000 for its community loan fund, which provides accessible financing to business owners whose risk factors may be difficult to obtain funds for traditional lenders. And we do have Colton here from CLV to speak.
Greetings, council members. Greetings, Mayor Panto. My name is Colton Cryle. I am the Senior Planner for Rising Tide Community Loan Fund, located in South Bethlehem. The mission of Rising Tide is to identify small business and community development credit needs that stifle the creation of economic opportunity in low to moderate income communities in the Lehigh Valley, and to meet those needs with affordable credit products. To achieve this mission, Rising Tide provides accessible financing to business owners whose risk factors make it difficult to obtain funds from traditional lenders. We serve prospective startup and established businesses in Lehigh, Northampton, Carbon, Monroe, and Upper Bucks counties. We offer them small business loans, leasehold improvements, purchase of equipment and machinery, marketing costs, working capital, and inventory purchases. We also offer one-on-one technical assistance on business plans, cash flow analysis and projections, as well as one-on-one marketing assistance. Formed in 2001, Rising Tide has provided 335 loans to 274 unique businesses, totaling more than $12.7 million. We have led to the creation of at least 423 jobs and the retention of at least 909 jobs. In the city of Easton specifically, Rising Tide has provided 27 loans, 13 of which has been dispersed since 2020. Of those 27 loans, 8 have been awarded to LMI entrepreneurs and 17 have been awarded to businesses operating in low to moderate income census tracts. We have loaned nearly $800,000 to businesses based within Easton city limits. $434,000 of those dollars have been loaned since 2020. In the past 5 years, we have seen a significant increase in demand for our services coming from the city of Easton, and for this reason, we believe it appropriate to seek Easton CDBG funds to allow us to expand our capacity and further serve Easton residents. Thank you for your time, and do you have any questions? Anyone? No?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. All right. So in addition to public service activities, organizations may request funding for capital improvement projects to their facilities. One application is received this year totaling $35,000. These activities are not subject to a funding cap like public services. In addition to the one nonprofit request, the remaining CDBG funds are proposed to fund city-run projects including infrastructure improvements, blight remediation, creation of affordable housing, and code enforcement activities. Mr. Brett?
Thank you, Councilman Pinnabone. Our one nonprofit application for public services was from Third Street Alliance. They are requesting $35,000 towards the replacement of 36 single pane windows and frames in the Bixler building, which is the mansion just directly to the right of the Simone mansion. I don't believe we have oh, Elisa's here. Would you like to say a few words? Because you're going to be put on the spot anyway. So.
With spot checking.
Thank you, and I apologize for being late. I was downloading the new parking app. So, anyway, so yes, Third Street Alliance has requested support for our capital project at our Bixler House, which serves as a shelter for women and children, as well as 2 child care classrooms for children who are infants to toddlers. The windows are original to the home, which was built in 1922, and they are single pane windows that are not weatherproof and cost us a lot of money in terms of utilities. So we're trying to upgrade them and replace them with windows that are more environmentally sound. So that's the cost that we are asking the city to help us provide with some matching funds.
Thank you.
Anything else?
No, ma'am.
Make sure you come to HGC.
Yep.
Thank you very much, Lisa. And before I turn it over to Councilman Pintabone to close out this hearing, I'd just like to remind council that June 6th is our requested deadline for your recommendations. So you can just fill out the spreadsheet that was emailed to you earlier, send it back to Sarah and I, and we'll compile those recommendations into a final proposed budget. The other point to note is that on the federal level, as Mayor Panter referenced earlier, the current budget at the Senate now is zeroing out this entire program. So we started this process obviously in the beginning of the year, well before anything was announced, and we're crossing our fingers that this gets amended before the end of the year. But to our applicants and the council, this could potentially be $1 million that just does not come into the city. In addition to that, if anyone's unaware, the home program is also being proposed to zero out. With our relationship with the accounting consortium, usually brings about $250,000 to $300,000 into the city for affordable housing creation, which is another large chunk of money that the city will be without as well. With that said, I'll turn it over to Councilman Pintabone. Yes, sir.
Do you have a timeline? When would we know with regard to the federal budget?
September.
I believe when it's passed.
September.
John, is it September?
Is it September?
Thank you, Councilman.
Okay.
Federal September.
The reason why I'm saying that, because it coincides, the only good news about that is that it's before the mayor delivers his budget October 1.
So I was, Lewis, I was with the chairman of the Appropriations Committee, Jordan Harris, last night. They're still going to push the state budget as normal on time and hope the federal doesn't throw any curveballs at the end. But so the state's still going to operate as normal.
Yeah.
Well, the threat to California governor was very, very inappropriate.
Yeah.
Basically, he would hold millions of dollars from the state of California if they don't follow his rules, and that's scary.
Very much so.
Mayor,
I'm not talking politics. It has nothing to do with DRR. It has to do with the way the federal government has supported the nation's people, the most needy, which you all do. We appreciate all your efforts. Your job is going to get harder and harder.
Mayor, to that point, what we heard tonight is a request for $205 and $35, $240,000 for programs that service the most vulnerable people in our city. I hope, and I hate to put this on our directors and our staff, but I hope we're looking at alternate ways of funding, because as the mayor said, this is going to be devastating to not only our city, but every city that's going to lose CDBG. We still got fingers crossed that there's some common sense in Congress, but, you know, so hopefully you guys can maybe network together or reach out to organizations to try to offset if the cuts do come.
No, that's great comments. And I know that as many of them, the representatives mentioned, the nonprofit and it serves partners in Easton are truly partners. I mean, the amount of coordination that's done between organizations and collaboration is really astounding. And Elisa is like a big organizer of all that, as with several other members here. So it is at the forefront. So thank you for pointing that out. And with that, I can turn it over to you to.
Thank you, Michael. Sarah, thank you very much for your work. Kingsley, thank you for your work. So this evening's hearing was intended to assess community needs for 2025. On June 25th of 25, a second public hearing will be conducted to review the proposed 2025 CDBG budget. The council will also be seeking approval for the budget at that meeting as well. So we will vote on what we heard today on at the June 25th meeting. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pinnabone. We'll now move on to our agenda, public comment on agenda items only. You will have a time at the end of the period, at the end of the meeting, to discuss any comments, concerns, or questions you have about the city of Easton. But at this time, is public comment on agenda items only. Is there anyone from the public? Joe?
Kingsley. John. Kingsley. I'm sorry, Joe. John.
Yeah, just wait a second.
Oh, yeah.
Please continue. I'm sorry, Joe.
Hi. Joe Welsh, Lehigh Valley Justice Institute, West Ward resident. I'm here for Bill 61, which is the marijuana ordinance, which is being reintroduced tonight. I don't think I can top the mayor's invocation, but I'll make my humble comments. Last time this issue was up, there was a lot of strong statements in the course of the debate that somehow voting yes on this was either unethical or violating your oath of office. And I was sitting in the front row and I thought, oh my God, maybe I should move to the back, because if somebody votes yes, a lightning bolt's going to come down and hit them. And then I'm thinking, did I stand in front of city council and ask somebody to do something unethical? I don't think so. And then I thought of all those good folks on the Allentown City Council. Were they unethical when they passed an ordinance? Were the good folks on the Bethlehem City Council unethical when they passed a marijuana ordinance? Were the elected officials of the other 15 municipalities in Pennsylvania unethical? I don't think so. Was Judge Morganelli, in his former role as district attorney, unethical when he had a policy to respect the Bethlehem ordinance? I think not. Is District Attorney Barada unethical for continuing that policy? You know, the district attorney is the chief law enforcement officer of the county. That's a state law. The fact is, we set enforcement priorities every single day. When the Pennsylvania State Police set their radar to 14 over, is that unethical? Are they violating their oath of office because somebody doing 13 is going to zip by their radar? Or the good example today, it's raining. You can look out the window. You'll probably see cars without their headlights on. That's a violation of a state law. If an officer is on his way to a domestic abuse call and doesn't stop and cite that car for not having its lights on while its windshield wipers are operating, are they violating their oath of office? Are they doing something unethical? No. They're setting enforcement priorities, and it's the only way our system works. We already gave you a report on the effects of marijuana as a misdemeanor. We have 1 in 6 cases in our courts and in our criminal justice system that involve minor marijuana charges. What that does, using those resources, is take the resources away from real crime, investigating and prosecuting real crime. And of course, you're 6.4 times more likely to be arrested for marijuana if you happen to be black. That shouldn't be surprising, because that's what the war on drugs was all about. And John Ehrlichman, the chief domestic policy advisor to Richard Nixon, admitted that after his purported religious conversion. He told us that the war on drugs was designed to attack blacks because they did not vote for Richard Nixon. And specifically, he said, "We knew we couldn't make it illegal to be black. Did we know we were lying about the drugs? Of course we did." That's the policy as it was promulgated by the Nixon administration. So the question as you deliberate again on this issue and vote in 2 weeks is not what the state will or will not do. The question is much simpler. How many more lives of your constituents do you want impacted by a failed, politically motivated policy? No lightning bolts are going to hit if you vote yes. No fires from below if you vote no. But if you do vote no, your constituents continue to suffer needlessly, and you divert taxpayer money away from stopping real crime. That's the choice, plain and simple. And thank you very much for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Good evening, Council, and that was very well spoken. Thank you. Dominic Trabasi, Easton resident. I'm also here in support of Bill 61. And while I disagree with the bill's increase in fines for marijuana possession that would disproportionately affect lower-income Easton residents, I do think this is a rare instance of a common-sense bill. To me, it's illogical to want someone's future employment and house buying power to be affected by such a petty crime. This is a bill that would objectively help prevent that. And we all know this is a time where it's already very hard for people to find a home or get a job. If the fine increase is a way of generating money from marijuana, I think there are probably better ways from profiting from the drug, notably federal legalization. But until that day comes, I think this bill should be passed, and I will be back to support it in a couple weeks when the vote comes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Just as an update, unfortunately, we had to present a new bill. Same everything, but it was 48, 43. Now it's Bill 61. So because we didn't, it tied last time. We didn't schedule a date at that meeting to bring it back. We had to create a whole new bill. So in 2 weeks, it will be on for a vote. I'm asking council at some point in the meeting, if there's any issues you have, any investigations you feel that you haven't completed since last time, can we please discuss this now and finally put people over politics and vote on this and get this passed in 2 weeks? I'd like to have the discussions today, if there are any to be had. If not, then I will assume that we are in a good position and we won't waste the residents' time anymore, and in 2 weeks we will have a ordinance passed. That's all I have, Mayor.
Anyone else like to discuss this bill now rather than at the end when we get to it? Seeing none, we'll move on. Go ahead.
My concern is this, and I just want to bring it up because I just want to make everything really clear. It's my understanding that even if this bill is passed, the police department is going to enforce the state regulation. So my concern is anybody who sees Easton passing this bill and saying, oh, now Easton is, I can have a small amount of marijuana in Easton and I only get a summary offense. All of a sudden they get arrested and they get charged with the state offense. I don't want people to get a false sense of security. I appreciate it. On that, and that's my biggest concern.
Well, I
don't want somebody to say, oh, well, Easton passed this, but all of a sudden I get, charged more. So that's my concern.
I appreciate it, Councilman, and I agree with you. I don't want to do that either. However, speaking to the chief at length, and even at that meeting, he did not tell us that he was going to direct them to continue following the state. He did not tell us to do that. And in fact, as of today, I have spoke to 16 Easton police officers who said they applaud this legislation. They think it's long overdue. They're tired of, and in most cases, they overlook it because they don't want to ruin a person's future and do 3 hours of paperwork and have to spend a day off going to court. They support this legislation. So the chief never informed us here publicly or to me personally that that's what would happen, that he would continue fighting doing the state. He would talk to the guys about following our recommendation, our ordinance, and from the police officers that I have spoken to in Easton, as well as all over, they think we're past the time we should have done this, and they welcome the change, and they agree with the change. So I don't think anybody's going to be prosecuting under the state. I believe they will operate on here.
And when the chief was here, he did mention that he just asked for time for training.
Correct.
So, I mean, if
Correct.
Here, I understood him to say that the police department was going to enforce the state.
That's what I heard.
That's what I heard because
That's not true, though.
I don't know. That's what I
He said he was going to need time to train his officers on the new way of doing the summary. That's what he said.
I think he said that with the assumption that what would with the question of what would happen if this were to go into play. He said, well, then I'd have to train my officers. But my understanding from him was that Easton Police under his thing was going to enforce the state. Now I could be wrong. I don't know. That's my concern.
Well, I will make sure
I don't
the
want
chief is
somebody
here.
getting arrested and saying, "Gee, I thought Easton went this way," and all of a sudden they're getting charged. And you know, I don't want that to happen.
And I appreciate it. Neither do I. We agree. Throughout my numerous conversations with the chief before and since in that meeting, I don't believe that's the case, and I will ask the chief to come back in 2 years from now. 2 weeks from now. Pardon me. I understand the sentiment, and I say this with all due respect. I understand the feelings from our older contingent. Times have changed.
Not about
30. Hold on. But let me finish.
But
let me finish.
I'm throwing it out there.
But it does. It does. There's an archaic way of thinking, and it's time to evolve. There's time to move forward. 30 states around us have legalized it. All the states around us have legalized it. All the people, all of our money is going over there. Our House of Representatives just voted to legalize it. Now, unfortunately, it's not getting past Senate because of the Republicans. But it's time we start moving forward and stop always saying, well, this is how we've done it. Those don't work anymore.
Never said that, Mr. Penable.
Well, I didn't say you did.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just telling you I didn't. And the more you throw that out there about things have changed, I know I've evolved over the years. I don't stay in one place. I don't act it, I don't look it, and I don't feel it. And more so than anything, I think that the more we keep throwing that out there about age, it's really starting to bother me because it has nothing to do with age.
I disagree.
It's a mindset. It's a mindset. I have my personal reasons why. I've stated them, and I will stand by what I believe.
And that's fine, and we will agree to disagree. But there's a mindset that my father holds, right? And I understand that mindset, and I respect it. We're looking at things through different lenses, different experiences, different times.
Then why aren't you in Harrisburg asking the state to change the law?
I spoke to our state reps. They passed it. I can't talk to Republicans.
I have a conflict here. We don't deal with anything that's not our responsibility, and we're not responsible for setting the law on marijuana. I agree with all the intent, but I don't agree with the ordinance.
So
you're making an ordinance that's in direct violation and direct opposition to the state law, which has governance over,
I'm giving, Mayor, I'm giving us, our police, the chance to give it as a summary and not as a more serious charge. The same way when a police officer pulls you over for speeding, can choose to let you go, can choose to say, I'm giving you a warning. We're screwing people's lives up for no reason. There's members in our community.
I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree.
And our state representatives, including Mr. Freeman here, Steve Samuelson in Bethlehem, they all voted 102 to legalize it in April or beginning of May. Unfortunately, the Republicans in Senate blocked it, but the Democrat senators and all the Republicans, all the House representatives voted to pass it. I'm not asking to pass it. I'm asking something that is legal in 30 states and decriminalized in 17 municipalities in the Commonwealth. I'm asking us to get on board and stop ruining people's lives because they don't have the means to get a medical card.
I think it's the right thing to do. I couldn't have it on my conscience that some young person, because they smoked in public, has it on their record forever, and we ruin their lives because of it.
I agree with
I think that's wrong. I have nothing personally to gain from this, but I support it because I think it's the right thing to do.
I agree with that point. I wish there was some way around that factor. But my fear is that we pass this ordinance and we have one person that pushes the envelope at one of these festivals and it opens us up.
Can you explain or give me an example
Okay.
of an envelope push?
Oh, absolutely. We have passed the ordinance, and you're allowed to have a portion on you or whatever. And someone says, "Okay, we got it on us. Let's just light it up. You know, we won't get in trouble for it. You know." And they're walking through an alleyway or into public view, and they're just smoking it. All it takes is one person to do that, and then people will follow. That's my fear. And my fear is that a young person, ages 0 to whatever that case may be, inhales this. Is it fear to that child? Is it fear to that? Is it fear to that parent that their child, with no way of stopping it, is inhaling it? My problem.
Councilman, I would agree with you if every time I'm downtown, I don't smell the marijuana in the air. I came out of our Easton chamber meeting today at 5 o'clock, and a neighbor was smoking, an older lady. She had to be in her 60s or 70s. The issue I have is people are already smoking. And when I met with judges in Northampton County, when I met with the DA, if you're caught smoking right now in the city of Easton, they're giving you a $25 fine. We increased the fine because we're not promoting public smoking. Based on the recommendation of the mayor, the chief, we increased the fine to 150 from 25. In my opinion, we're making it more of a deterrent to smoke in public than what the city currently has now. Right now, smoke $25, no big deal. Well, now it's 150, 250, 350. And after that, then it's no longer a summary offense. So we're trying to deter public use. But if I have a young person, which I've mentioned before, or I have an elderly person with medical conditions, why do I want to hinder them from student loans, housing, education, other things for something that, again, 30 states have legalized and everybody around us?
Do you believe that the minimum wage should be raised?
I don't think the minimum wage is a non-starter for me because nobody around here is making $7.25. So I don't even discuss it.
Some people are.
I don't know anybody making $7.25 in the city of Easton. I don't know anybody. So, you know, the whole thing about raising minimum wage, I think it's a non-starter. The issue I have is there are people that are negatively affected by this. And when my state legislature, the ones we elect, the ones we serve petitions for, are voting to legalize it, I'm not asking to do that. I'm asking to make it equitable for everybody. I mean, I've talked to everybody as far as, you know, Chief Scalzo mentioned to me, he said to me, you know, Frank, you're going to turn Bacon Fest into Weed Fest. And it was funny at first, but I did have to absorb that. And I didn't want to come up with the answer, so I went to the chief in Bethlehem. I went to Allentown. I went to Harrisburg. I went to, and I asked all these people, Music Fest. They said, no, we have no upticks in usage. Now, I will say, in the interest of full disclosure, the only issue they're having a lot of smoke that they always had was at Caribbean Fest. But Music Fest had no uptick. Allentown has no uptick at their events. Lancaster, Harrisburg, nobody has seen an uptick at their events. No one has seen an uptick in arrests for smoking. I don't know why we're thinking that Easton would be the first one. The smoking that is happening has already been happening. It's already happening. Mayor, you were with me the other day. You know, me and the mayor have a funny story to share at one point. But it's happening. And we're talking about 30 grams. No drug dealer is making any money on 30 grams of marijuana. It's not helping drug dealers. It's not helping addicts. We're talking about marijuana that I don't smoke it. Nobody in my family smokes it. I don't particularly like the smell. But we're talking about equality. And when over 70% of the sales in Phillipsburg, New Jersey are coming back here, and 30 states have legalized it and 17 has decriminalized it, we're behind the times. And I think we need to evolve and realize that it's different today than it was during the Nixon day, than the 70s and 80s. That war on drugs wasn't what they made us think it was. And now we need to evolve and think our way out of it. I mean, listen, and respectfully to all my council members, I know I have 3 no votes. I'm hoping we have 4 yes votes in 2 weeks. I know we have more than enough votes come January when seats change, but I think we can do this in 2 weeks. 4-3. I'm fine with 4-3. That's all I have, Mayor.
Anyone else? Moving on, the agenda. Council, Madam Clerk?
On the consent agenda?
Yeah.
Okay, we have 9 certificates of appropriateness. 41 West Maple Street, 35 North 5th Street, 332 to 36 Spring Garden Street, 42 North 2nd Street, 27 South 3rd Street, 322 to 38 Northampton Street, 33 South 6th Street, 18 to 24 South 3rd Street, and 538-40 Northampton Street.
I move the consent agenda.
Second.
Moved in second, any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mr. Pinnabone?
Aye.
Mrs. Rose?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Ms. Sultana?
Aye.
Okay, the only report to receive by council, I'll accept on behalf of council, is the April Fire Department report. We'll move right into committee reports. Finance Committee, Vice Mayor Brown.
Thank you, Mayor. I have one thing on unfinished business. That's bill number 58, and that's the ordinance for the change in the garage fees. That's all I have.
Economic Development Committee, Councilmember Pinnabone.
I have nothing, Mayor.
Planning and Coach Committee, Councilmember Rose.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to let everyone know that next week's planning meeting has been canceled. There are no requests on the agenda, so we'll move to July. We do expect the Planning Commission to discuss and take up the warehouse on Wood Avenue proposal again at that meeting. One thing I had started to ask for, we do expect a large crowd, and I was just wondering if we could have someone from the team on hand, perhaps from the IT group, to handle the overflow and make sure that the audio and the video is working there. Thank you, Mr. Campos, I appreciate it. One thing that was reported this weekend was the 15-minute spot in the 4th Street garage. There's a 15-minute spot there, but the charge minimum is for 40 minutes. I did email Marcus about it, and he's looking into it, but just wanted to make you aware of that. One other thing I was hoping we could get an update on, would it be possible for UGI, or do we have an update on where they are at with all the meter replacements in the city?
I asked Dave about that too. I asked Dave Hopkins about that. So hopefully he gets on board. He said that he really doesn't know until it happens.
Oh, yeah, no, I was just wondering if there's any way for us to find out where they're at with the updates thus far in the city.
The replacement of the mains and service lines. I think they're expecting to be done at the end of this year.
Okay.
We can certainly, Dave can address with the information that he has. He does have more detail than you would think. So why don't we ask him to come in?
Tracy's sending out maps too at the beginning of the week on email with the road closed.
No, I understand that. I'm just for an overview, what's been completed and what is left to be completed. I think that I've received some questions, and
They're doing 8.5 miles this year of roads.
Mm-hmm.
But Mayor, to her question, Southside is done, right?
Southside is completed, yes.
They finished Westward. They're more like downtown Fifth.
The court order is only a certain amount of mains and service lines that are over a certain age, and I don't know what that age is, but I know Southside is done. College Hill is still going on. Westward is started this year.
And Mayor, I did share an email with you a few days ago about some residents reached out, and then I recently got additional emails over the last 2 days, primarily focusing on the West Ward, where meters were installed in the middle of sidewalks. So
Again, we have no control over that. We met
I
with the
just wanted to
PUC.
finish. I know you met with the PUC, and I appreciated you sending me the update and that you mentioned it to them. But do we have a UGI liaison, community liaison that the administration works with?
No.
Because I'm just going to illustrate my own personal experience living downtown, spending the last 11 years fixing up a home that had no CO. It's a historic home. And then having to fight with one of the installers who was a contractor who couldn't have cared less about our city, was from the Poconos, and try to put it in front of my porch in the middle of a sidewalk. I live next to a restaurant. I had to drive home from work because they waited until I left for work to try to install it. Like, the communication was horrible, and I did engage with UGI, and I think that in the West Ward, where we know we have absentee landlords, at least some of the properties I've looked at, they were just installed. People aren't pushing back. And when you do engage UGI, I do feel that they've been helpful so far. But in some of these properties, I think that I think UGI would be willing to address some of the issues where the installs were inappropriate. And if we could have some dialogue with them, I think we could get somewhere with it.
Well, I wish we'll have you do the negotiating, because last year in the West Ward, I called about 2 people who really did push back heavily with me, and I got nowhere with UGI. UGI wants to put it in the most easiest place for them to drive by and get their reading.
Crystal, to your question about a liaison, myself and the mayor met with PUC at Harrisburg on Friday. They agreed that, and it's not just us, they're having issues in other municipalities with communication. So they asked us to we gave them a list of things, and they've asked us to give them 2 weeks to get back to us. But they said that at a city of our size, there's no reason why we shouldn't be able to get a call picked up right away, get answers, and have somebody to work with. So hopefully we'll have some better news in 2 weeks.
I hope so. But I mean, once I got in touch with UGI, I have to give them a lot of credit. Like, they recently just got back to me. I had issues because they sent a contractor to repair, quote unquote, our porch and our sidewalk. They did a great job with the sidewalk, but they did a horrible job on our porch, to the point where now I had to get quotes from historic masons and things like that locally. We're lucky to have some good ones locally, but I'm prepared to also, I'm afraid that my husband and I might have to throw some money at it, to this project that we never intended, where we never had an issue. They have, especially like the last week, engaged with me, but I think it takes that extra push. And they're unaware of some of the work. They were looking at some of the work on the block, especially the commercial building next door, and they noticed that it was installed properly, and now they're addressing that one as well. So I think that they're unaware of some of these. Not all of the meters are an issue, but there are some that are definitely a concern. And I hate for the West Ward especially. I feel like sometimes those residents reach out and feel like, oh, we're forgotten and things like that. But, I think maybe they need a little extra help pushing when the building owner especially is unreachable in situations like that. But that's all I have. If we could explore that further, I'd appreciate it.
Public Safety Committee, Councilmember Ruggles.
I have no report.
Public Works Committee, Councilmember Rediger.
I have no report tonight, Mayor.
Administration Committee, Councilwoman Sultana.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to piggy right on what Mr. Kingsley reported about Home Easton grant that we are receiving, the Redevelopment Authority of Easton was seeking submission for qualification for graphic design service to develop logos and branding for the Upstart Housing nonprofit organization. Interested bidders were requested to submit the RDA indicating the qualification to provide services that meet the standards set forth. So the proposal were due by the 19th. Mr. Brett received one incomplete proposal and had one other party interested. So one is from Kudu. The board will decide if there is a need to re-advertise if neither of the two is acceptable. For clarification, the branding will include a logo, letterhead, and business cards for the Home Easton organization. Another thing is, Mayor, I have been receiving a lot of complaints from the Mill Easton. I think there's a lot going on. I had a brief discussion with Mr. Kingsley like last month. So if Mr. Kingsley's here, is there any update, Mr. Kingsley, from the Mill?
I talked to the chief about it, and the issue is their lease. They got to put in their lease that the young people who are congregating in the lobby live there, and they're smoking marijuana, and they're causing havoc in the building for the tenants, and they live there, so they can't throw them out. That's one of the issues.
Mayor, if I may, they can't be smoking marijuana. It's not decriminalized. It's illegal. So there's no way they're smoking marijuana. But I will say that they did hire security. Pearl did hire security on Fridays and Saturday nights. So the hanging out and the marijuana smoke has decreased 100% because they do have security. They also had an issue with mice. They weren't cleaning out the trash chutes. That has all been cleaned out in the last couple of weeks as well. And the owner of Pearl came to Easton and visited the site and walk through it. Also, Tim Harrison, the developer, is working on possibly buying the property back and getting it back to where it should be.
Another issue that I heard about is like discrimination. I'm not sure how true is that, but some handicapped people, they are not, getting the services that they deserve. So, Mr. Kingley, if you can please give us update next council meeting, I would truly appreciate it. Thank you. That's all I have, Mayor.
Okay. Next is the report of the solicitor.
Thank you. We had an executive session immediately prior in which we discussed both litigation-related matters and personnel, including review of contract negotiations.
Thank you. Report of the mayor. And several council members attended today the luncheon for the Officer of the Year. I want to congratulate Jonathan Vidal, who is an Easton resident and lived and grew up here, so he knows the city well. It was well attended, and it was a very nice event. It was well attended by a lot of police officers also. I also want to let City Council know that the administration is talking about a pub crawl legislation, and I don't know how we're going to do it yet, but we're going to try to limit the pub crawls that they have to get a special events license. What we're doing is there's a person who's committing and having these pub crawls like once a month. There's one coming up called Mimosa Tour, and they're drinking in licensed establishments, so there's nothing we can do about that, but it's creating havoc for our P-word parking situation. They did it the last time when the State Theater had a sold-out show. And when there's a sold-out show, we get about 350 extra cars downtown, plus 700 people that were in the pub crawl. And so we just, through my office, we can at least say, how about, it can't be June 21st, how about June 28th? And move it that way so we can at least plan for these special events like we do with all the other special events.
Mayor, and with the pub crawl, the problem I think that we're having is that they're not mindful of where they're dropping their trash at, where they're leaving. It's such a disrespect to our city when they come in, and you cannot blame the establishment that they're going to. It's the people.
That's true too.
One other thing, just from living downtown, I mean, I think events are great for downtown. I think scheduling is definitely something to keep in mind. I would love to see increased enforcement that night, because it definitely sometimes feels like a powder keg a bit when the pub crawls are happening downtown. Aftermath can be anything from planters being turned over, plants pulled out, trees being pushed, cracked in half, some of the new plantings that had happened too in the past. And I try to avoid being out on those nights. I've had to walk the dogs and things like that even early on in the evening, and people, you hear arguing and things like that, and I just worry about something happening on those nights. So I would love to see a fee attached to that event permit to help with the cost of increasing enforcement on those evenings, because I think that they're good for the restaurants, but we also want to be safe.
Well, I agree, and we could do something if we knew about it, but we don't even know about it. Apparently, there's a website that you can go to and find out when they are, but we don't know that.
There's two, actually. which, I mean, I can share the info with
Okay.
you.
I mean,
But the restaurants would know who to get in touch with because they're signing up for these events.
yeah, well, I do have one name. I don't have two. I have one name. But the problem is, we really need to address the antics that go on during the pub crawl when they're outside the licensed establishment. So we're working on that, and we're looking for some city that has pub crawl licensing agreements. And I think licensing them to have permission from the Moose to be able to have it that night would be helpful. Then we would know when to schedule. Right now, we don't even know when to schedule it overtime.
Yeah, and I think I've even heard the restaurants complaining. I think one might have been on a Lafayette alumni weekend or something too, and they couldn't accommodate the influx of patrons as well. So I think the restaurants would appreciate that scheduling option as well.
I just want to mention again, we're starting to feel the wrath of the federal government. We had a $750,000 federal grant that was going to help us buy the trestle from the bottom of Washington, well, actually from West Easton all the way over to Phillipsburg to do a Highline project a Highline Park, and we just found out that we lost that agreement. They called it back, so we don't have it anymore. So we have to look for other funding. I also want to thank the State Theater for reaching out to Lewis and I about the parking situation for them. And I want to thank Lamont McClure. We met with the county, and the county has given us one of their parking lots, which holds 250 cars. And it's right up the street from the State Theater, so those people who park at the State Theater, who go to the State Theater show, can park up at the county lots and walk. It's a nice short walk right down Fifth Street and get right to the theater. So we're working with other groups that own private lots in downtown. We have more private spaces that are owned by the private sector than we have public spaces. So we know that one of the ways we can solve the parking dilemma is by making an agreement with them, and we have several that we're hopefully will announce within the next week. Several private owners that are willing to work with the city in making their lots available after 5 o'clock. We did meet with the BUC. We don't have to talk about that anymore. There's going to be an AV equipment upgrade in City Council so that we can, once we have that upgrade, we will be able to hopefully live stream. By the end of the year, we'll be live streaming the zoning meetings and the planning commission meetings. For the public that's here, City Council does not review the projects. The mayor can get blamed for all the projects in the city, but I don't review them. The persons that do approve them are on the zoning board and the planning commission, and they are residents of the city. They are not elected officials; they are residents, and that's where the major decisions come from, and that really affect the quality of life. And so we told Mazen today that by the end of the year, we're going to have zoning and planning commission put on Zoom. YouTube. Oh, YouTube. All right, one of those streaming.
Great news.
And also, tonight's agenda also has a greeter position downstairs. We do have a massive lobby. It's a cavernous space that has nothing there. We will have a greeter who will then basically watch who comes into the building, who goes out of the building. Not be a security guard. They won't be armed or anything because state law does not allow us to do that. But we will have a greeter position if the city council approves it today. I do want to mention, Crystal mentioned Councilmember Stoneback. Where did I get that from?
Stoneback Rose. That's my name.
Okay. Loading zones and unloading zones we're working with right now. The city has been trying to work with developers and with businesses downtown, and the loading unloading zones is getting out of hand. So what we're going to do is have an ordinance before City Council that basically says there'll be loading zones from 7 in the morning till 5 at night. We have our biggest parking problem is at night when all the restaurants are full and the stores are starting to get busy. But the other problem we have is we really got to be cautious about the 15-minute zones we have. We have more on the agenda again tonight, and every business is going to want a 15-minute zone in front of their business, and we got to be careful because otherwise we'll start doing the same thing that Mayor Panto from the '80s did with the downtown parking permit. Ferry Street. Ferry Street will be open sometime in July. Why? Because it's state law. When we do we put a brand new sewer line in there that feeds all the way from the prison up at the county prison. It requires us to have a temporary patch all over the city, not just in downtown, but on every neighborhood. You will see a temporary patch that's put in for 90 days. 90 days. They have to be put in by state law for 90 days without subsidence. Once that's done, they saw cut and they take the excavated material out and they permanently trench that. Why? So that when they pave it, we don't have depressions where the trench was, subsidence where the trench was. So that's the reason why it takes so long to get a street opened again or paved. And right now we're getting a lot of complaints from the West Ward, and some of those streets are a mess. And the utilities can close the street on moment's notice. They only answer the PUC. They don't tell us when they're going to close it. So that is the end of my report, Mr. Campos.
Mayor, I want to just add a couple things on what you had mentioned. Regarding loading zones, moving forward, there's two parts to it. There's the part that the mayor had mentioned about changing the ordinance to allow for flexibility in charging a fee at loading zones. Right now, the loading zones are essentially blocked out for loading. However, the dilemma that we have is that we don't know who's necessarily parking in the loading zone. So I want to inform council that there's two parts to that. There's an ordinance change, so we need some language in which, as the mayor had mentioned, we could have time frames in which the loading zones will be permissible for loading, and then other times in which will be paid parking, which could also be for loading. However, part of the problem that has come up is that in some cases there are individuals that are parking in the loading zones that are not necessarily loading or unloading goods into the building that they're supposed to be servicing, etc. So you will see shortly that moving forward, in order to utilize a loading zone, you will have to register on the app as if you were parking in a paid parking spot. So you would have to identify your license plate number, etc., and that way the parking enforcement officers can determine whether that individual has, if they're moving, they have a moving permit, and then also if there's a habitual user, they can understand who it is. In some cases, anecdotally, we're hearing that from different folks that loading zones are being abused. So this will help us understand if that's the case or not. Secondly, the mayor had mentioned some upgrades and improvements to the to the microphones and the camera, to the microphone of the audio system here in City Hall, and that's on the agenda tonight for your approval. It's about a $50,000 acquisition cost. It's a significant upgrade. I've heard various complaints from council on how difficult it is at times to listen to the audio, including which out in the lobby when we have overflow. There's been some issues there. This upgrade, which is being presented to you tonight for your approval, the monies for that will come out of the following, and this is part of my update here too. The administration was successfully able to renegotiate a new contract for the fiber services that we've been receiving through Crown Castle, and it's about a $50,000 savings. At least this year we're going to get a $50,000 savings. Next year it's going to continue to add on an annual savings of about $9,000 to $10,000. moving forward. For different reasons, and I'll summarize it, the Crown Castle has not met the expectations of the administration with regards to the service that was being provided. Crown Castle has agreed to give a one-time credit plus ongoing reduction on the services. So that's how we're able to afford the upgrades immediately, because we heard it loud and clear that there needed to be some immediate improvements to the audio system here in City Hall, and that's my update, Mayor. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Campos.
Yep.
There's no correspondence received by City Council, so we'll go right into unfinished business. Madam Clerk.
Bill number 57, an ordinance allowing a 15-minute parking space for loading and unloading at MHK Family Market located at 472 Northampton Street.
So introduced.
Is there a second? Oh, it's introduced. I'm sorry.
So we're voting on this now.
This is moved.
No, it's just.
This is unfinished.
Unfinished,
We're
unfinished.
voting on
Oh,
this.
sorry.
Moved.
Moved. Okay, so moved.
Is there a second?
To approve it?
So that's
Okay.
right. Yeah,
Okay.
Roll call.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mr. Pinnabone?
Aye.
Ms. Rose?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Ms. Sultana?
Aye.
And Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Bill number 58, an ordinance amending Chapter 285, parking garage fees.
Move.
Second.
Moved in second. Dr. Ruggles.
Just a quick question on, right at the beginning, it says North 4th Street parking garage, 5 a.m. to 5 p.m., $3 per hour. Lower level is 2-hour parking only. Does that mean that the lower level is also $3 an hour?
No. It's whatever the meter says.
No.
It's metered.
Well, that's not what it says. What it says is that the parking garage is $3 per hour.
But it's not, the lower level zoning is considered metered parking, not parking garage.
Okay.
There's a
but-
separate
I mean,
schedule.
the way it's worded, it's
Should be worded.
very, and I don't have any problem with having the lower level being $3 an hour. Let me just say that. But I mean,
Two.
even with the meters, but the way it's worded, it looks like the lower level is just 2-hour parking, but the garage itself, the garage is $3 an hour. A parking spot in the garage is $3 an hour. That's what it says. Doesn't say whether it's metered or
Why
whatever.
don't we just say on all the upper levels?
You can say that without having the being able to pull up the
Ground floor
ordinance.
accepted.
I believe there's a schedule in the ordinance for surface lots, and
But it's not even a surface
or
lot.
metered lots.
Metered lot.
Metered lots. There's a schedule in the ordinance. I'd have to pull it up. I just don't have it in front of me right now.
Well, I mean, there might be a conflict, because I'm pretty sure that there's another ordinance that says that the meters in that location are $1.50 an hour.
So do we want to
So
say
there might be that conflict, but I just wanted to point that out. It just seems like there's a conflict.
One suggestion, I don't think this would be a substantive change, is if you took that language, this would be in 285-42 capital A brackets 1 brackets B, I believe. You change the lower level is 2-hour meter parking only. Would that resolve the problem? Because then you refer to the metered rates.
Yeah.
So I really don't see it as being substantial. I don't.
Add the word metered in.
Adding the word metered, I don't think we would have had 1,000 more people here tonight if we had that introduced originally. So that would be my recommendation, to make that absolutely clear.
I would move that change.
second?
Moved in second on the amendment. Any other discussion? Roll call on the amendment.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mr. Pinnabone?
Aye.
Mrs. Rose?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Ms. Sultana?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye. Now we'll vote on the amended resolution, or ordinance, I'm sorry, ordinance.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mr. Pinnabone? Mrs. Rose?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Ms. Sultana?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
And Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Bill number 59, an ordinance approving an encroachment agreement with the owner of 205 Reeder Street for the installation of electric vehicle charging station.
So moved.
Second.
Moved in second, any discussion?
Yes, I just want to make sure I'm clear. Mr. Campos said, quote, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Campos, in our discussion about this last time, I believe you said that if that person leaves, although they own that, someone else can park in that space.
That is correct. That's what Mr. Hopkins said.
Oh,
at
Ms.
the
Hopkins,
last
I stand
meeting.
corrected.
Yeah.
Yeah, I stand corrected.
Well, I'm just asking, I don't know, but with the cost of it, if they move, they would pretty much take it with them, right?
No. I mean, move the
Move
car.
Their parking space, are they allowed to use the charger?
Well, that's what I mean. The charger was theirs. They pay for it. It goes to their house.
If they don't lock it, I assume that anyone could use it.
Yeah, I would imagine they would have to lock it, but they were told, according to Mr. Hopkins,
They can
were
park there,
told,
but they can't use the charger.
they were told that they're not guaranteed that spot.
But they don't own
The
the
spot
street.
isn't reserved for their vehicles.
That's correct.
Yeah.
I just wanted to be clear about that.
They always turn the switch off.
Mhm. Okay. Ready? Mr. Pinnabone.
Aye.
Mrs. Rose.
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles.
Aye.
Ms. Sultana.
Aye.
Mr. Brown.
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger.
Aye.
Mayor Panto.
Aye. I just wanted you to know, I did ask the Public Works Department to come up with a template that we can use every time we have one of these electric vehicle charging stations.
That's a
in the
great
right of
idea.
way.
Great
Yeah,
idea.
the engineering department drew that up. New business.
Sure. We have a resolution authorizing filing of application for a grant from PA Mixed Use Housing Development Pilot Program for the Foundry Easton project.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved in second, any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Ettinger.
Aye.
Mayor Panto.
Aye.
Mr. Pinnabone.
Aye.
Mrs. Rose.
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles.
Aye.
Ms. Sultana.
Aye.
And Mr. Brown.
Aye.
We have a resolution authorizing Easton DCED to apply for a municipal fire department capital grant in the amount of $90,000 to support a new generator for Central Fire Station.
Second.
Moved in second, discussion. Just want you to know that this will be allowed, since we're looking at either renovating or building a new central station as part of the capital improvement program for the next 5 years. That will be retained. We'll be able to use it in the future. It's very easily stored and then put back in use. Roll call.
Mayor Panto.
Aye.
Mr. Pinnabone.
Aye.
Mrs. Rose.
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles.
Aye.
Ms. Sultana.
Aye.
Mr. Brown.
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger.
Aye.
We have a resolution authorizing Easton DCED to apply for the Pennsylvania DCED Watershed Restoration and Protection Program.
No, we're doing the road.
We're doing the
Road
C.
North
Number
Road
C.
program.
That's,
Oh, well, you didn't remind me. I would like to take that one off. That's the one we're taking off, right?
No, Mayor.
No, it's not the one we're taking.
No, we're not taking any of them off.
Oh, that's right, we're not.
Okay.
Never mind, we used it.
we're gonna use it?
Yes.
Okay, well, all right. One moment. Okay, so
Well,
this
the
is,
mayor technically would have had to ask in the beginning of the meeting to amend the agenda.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna sure.
Yeah.
Not
And you
move it.
didn't say so. I thought you guys communicated, but we're not taking that off.
okay, we have a resolution authorizing Easton DCED to apply for the Grow Norco program.
Moved in, is there a second?
Second.
Moved in second, discussion, roll call.
Okay. Mr. Pinnabone.
Aye.
Mrs. Rose.
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles.
Aye.
Ms. Sultana.
Aye.
Mr. Brown.
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger.
Aye.
Mayor Panto.
Aye.
Resolution authorizing Easton DCED to apply for the Pennsylvania DCED Watershed Restoration Protection Program.
Second.
Moved in second, discussion, roll call.
Mr. Pinnabone.
Aye.
Mrs. Rose.
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles.
Aye.
Ms. Sultana.
Aye.
Mr. Brown.
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger.
Aye.
Mayor Panto.
Aye.
a resolution supporting the designation of the city of Easton as Pennsylvania or PA Bird Town Community.
So moved.
This is a fun one.
Let it go with the trees.
Moved, is there a second? Oh, discussion? I thought only the state and the federal government did these crazy things.
A little noise ordinance was put out. No, I'm just kidding.
They wake me up every morning at 5 o'clock.
That whip that girl got.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mrs. Rose?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Ms. Sultana?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Eddinger?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mr. Pinnabone? We have a resolution approving a job description for the position of City Hall Lobby Security.
Move.
I'd like to eliminate the word security because it's not security. The person will not be armed. It'd be more of a greeter.
Just for city hall lobby.
Lobby officer?
The officer implies
Lobby person, yes, greeter.
greeter.
Reader.
Person's a greeter. So to make sure that the person coming in has a appointment or needs to see somebody, wants to get a permit, or needs to use the restroom. I'm different than the rest of the employees who think that our restrooms should only be for employees. I think we don't have a public restroom downtown, so with the restrooms being locked, they'll now have to have an employee to let them in so we don't have people shooting up or taking showers.
Perfect.
Should Councilwoman Sultana re-motion the word greeter?
No, it's fine.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Ms. Sultana?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Eddinger?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mr. Pinnabone?
Aye.
Mrs. Rose?
Aye.
A resolution approving a proposal from Haverford Systems to upgrade all major AV components of the current audio-video systems in council chambers.
Move.
Second.
Moved and seconded into discussion.
The only thing I was going to add, Mayor, is that out in the lobby, it's going to have a very robust speaker system. So if there is overflow, you'll be able to hear everything out there.
And there's also TV.
That's true too.
They'll be connected, yeah.
That's true too.
Roll call.
Ms. Sultana?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Eddinger?
Aye.
Mayor
I
Panto?
think we're
Aye.
smoking it.
Mr. Pinnabone?
Aye.
Mrs. Rose?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
And we have 4 bills for introduction. Bill number 60, an ordinance adding an addendum to the hologram zoo ordinance number.
Mr. Kingsley, you just want to mention why we need to do that?
Should I introduce first, Mayor?
Yes.
Introduce.
Let's go ahead.
Karen.
I'm sorry.
Introduce.
Oh, okay, thank you.
So the background on this is the tenant is using U.S. Small Business Administration financing to acquire the equipment associated with the project and do some of the internal fit out. The SBA program requires that the term of the loan and the term of the lease associated with the facility be at least equal. So the way things are currently working out, we have less than 10 years, which is the term of their loan left on the lease, and we're trying to give them some additional time. Given that we can't determine exactly when closing will occur, we decided just to add an additional year to the option period that was discussed previously. So that's the thought process behind this. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bill number 61, adding chapter 581, marijuana possession, relating to the use, possession of marijuana, providing for enforcement, including penalties, introduced by.
So introduced.
Introduced. Okay. Bill number 62, an ordinance amending chapter 456, landlord engagement program.
There's one, there's a cross-reference that was missed in the editing of this. It's not going to be anything major, but it's in.
I got it. Oops, did I go?
Went past it. Yeah.
Okay. This
So
is exciting.
It's in, yeah, section 456, the new section -9. That paragraph on the first line, Karen, references 456-7. That -7 needs to be changed to -8 because we changed the numbering when we added a section.
Oh, okay.
So
okay.
it's just changing a cross-reference to it.
Okay.
Well, when you introduce it,
What you
you're
get, all right.
introducing this with that change. The 456-9 refers to the requirements in 456-8, not 7.
Yeah.
Bill number 63, an ordinance approving a loading, unloading zone on South 4th Street.
So introduced, but I have a question.
Go ahead.
Why in the world are we doing this? I do not see a reason for doing this because that particular intersection, if there is a left-hand turn lane going north on 4th Street, would be very beneficial. The only reason that I can see that we do not have a left-hand turn lane there is because this particular location has a meter on it that says it's reserved for police officers. Now we're going to make it a load-unload zone, and we're sacrificing traffic at that intersection, which is, in my opinion, much more important than a load-unload zone. I mean, the backup in that intersection is immense because people only can be in the right-hand lane, and they want to take a left-hand turn to go up Northampton Street, and they sit there because all the cars are coming south on 4th, and you could be there for 4 cycles of the light before you get through that intersection. If we had a left-hand turn lane there, the people who are turning left would be in the left-hand turn lane, and people could go on the right-hand side. And we're making a load-unload zone for one entity, and we're punishing the entire population essentially. I mean, I don't understand why we want to do this. I mean, if they had to have that police there so that they could easily bring in people in and out of the magistrate, okay. But for a load-unload zone, I don't get this.
I think you make good
my point.
points. I have some of the same concerns. I think you made some good points about that. I'm trying to wrap my head around it from a traffic standpoint.
Yeah.
I think it would clog that area.
Yeah. I mean, I've sat at that light for 4 cycles, waiting for people to turn left.
Well, the request obviously came in, so it's up to council to approve, disapprove. And that's a good question. I can certainly
The problem
pose this
is
to
we're giving
engineering.
it to other developments, and we're not giving it to him.
Well,
We
that's
gave it
not
to Seville,
yeah.
we gave it to Marquis, we gave it to Confluence, I'm sure it's gonna come back.
But it doesn't have to be there. It could be down the block.
It could. You're right. I don't think there's an issue with that.
I mean, that area right there, all we just need is enough for the cars going straight coming south.
Queue up on that, on the left lane.
Yeah, to your point.
So that
to
there's
your-
a lane there.
To your point, because the request came in, Dave talked to myself, and then asked me to look into it, so I did, and I spoke with Dave about it. And there was an equity issue, as the mayor had mentioned, but then I wanted to take a look at the block. It's inefficient right now, to your point, in that we're actually, this is like a net zero loss of spaces because there's 2 boxed out 6'6" sections, if you will, that can't fit a vehicle, but they're boxes. So that would have to be repainted, and the 2 together equal a spot. But to your point, I can discuss this with DPW and see if your theory of adding another lane is jeopardized by adding that load-unload zone. I mean, I think that's a good discussion, and I can just bring that up because if that's the case, and you're just saying, hey, why don't you just move it inside the block more? Since we gained a space anyway, we gained some square footage, so to speak. I think it's a good idea. So if you,
I think sacrificing a few more steps is much better.
yeah,
than
I don't think that's I don't think
backed up.
I don't think that's as much of an issue as what you're describing. I agree with you. I've been stuck at that light too. So I would say, why don't you introduce this? I'll go to DPW, and before you vote on it, we can discuss this issue one time and see if we can resolve it. Okay.
Okay.
Public comment?
Anyone in the public want to ask a question, comments, or concerns about the city of Easton? Is your turn right now on the agenda for public comment? David?
David Propsman, 828 Philadelphia Road. 2 months ago, I was here to relate some concerns. Until this point today, none of them have been taken care of.
I was up in your neighborhood and I walked it and I didn't have any problem. What are you specifically speaking about?
The neighborhood center.
Oh, the neighborhood center.
The
Okay.
CVS property,
CVS? Let me
school
write it down.
district property.
What school district property? Cheston?
Cheston, between Grant, Milton, Storm, and Cole. My concerns that I brought up for Humor Park, nothing was done down there. Not even safety markers were put up where the washouts are. And actually, I got grief from one of the workers that I attended the council meeting and complained. And Mr. Hopkins told me to contact the boss down there, which I did. I sent him pictures. And things for the last 3 weeks still haven't, where you got washouts coming out of the railroad yard down on the D&L trail, and they don't go clean them up. When I worked at the park wasn't that way. If somebody called about something, it was taken care of.
Okay, David.
And my other concern is every weekend you have the farmer's market. You restrict traffic. Where is your traffic control signs? Because sooner or later somebody's going to get in an accident, and it's the PA vehicle code that says you have to have warning signs up when you restrict lanes.
It's the cones are out at the bottom of the Smith Avenue.
Where's the signs?
Oh, signs, I don't know.
PA vehicle code, PennDOT publication governs closure of lanes and roads. If I get in an accident, somebody's going to be at fault other than me, because you're not taking care of the problem.
Okay, David.
Have a good day.
Thank you, David. Anyone else? Okay.
Mayor, just before you adjourn, just for myself, my own clarification and the public. In 2 weeks, our next meeting is at the neighborhood center?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Second.
Moving to second, roll call.
Vamonos.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Mr. Pinnabone?
Aye.
Mrs. Rose?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Ms. Sultana?
Aye.